Hi, it's Kevin May, the Editor-in-Chief of PhocusWire. So we're joined here by Steve Martinez. You're the Founder and Chief Commercial Officer of LIVN. For those that don't know, apologies, there might be a few that don't. Just tell us very briefly what LIVN is and what it does.
So quite deliberately, actually, that a lot of people wouldn't know about us. So we started developing API connectivity to reservation platforms back in 2011 when they first started coming out.
Yep.
Our model back then and our vision was to build a GDS-style approach to aggregate all reservation platforms into a single, unified and harmonized data structure. And then we have one API that comes out, out of that. So our partners can actually connect to one API and access 23 reservation systems without actually having to connect individually to each one and support each individual integration.
Is that quite a hard thing to do, just technically?
Yeah, look, monetarily as well, a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of minimum viable products in APIs coming out of reservation systems that they just threw out there when they were requested by the OTAs. They're still in the marketplace. They had to be massaged, worked around. So there's a lot of integrations hanging together with a lot of metadata that we've had to add to them to make them workable.
Okay.
We've spent $10 million quietly building one of the largest networks and infrastructure that anyone can access. And the reason that we've done that, and we've been through a lot of pain doing this. There's no standards at all. Rate types, different results you get from different APIs. It's an absolute mess. And anyone going into this, even the bigger players, a Booking.com that's looking at entering this space, we know the pain that they're about to go up against.
Right, okay.
They don't know. And we feel that we can add a lot of value to those sort of companies that say, look, we've done it, we've spent the money, we've unified it, we've solved this problem. Jump onto our open network, put your own model on top of it, and automate your whole booking process. And you can get to speed to market within 6 to 8 weeks, as opposed to a year and a half it might take you to integrate to 20 platforms.
Right, okay. So, I mean, what do you think is the kind of the single biggest problem that your customers are asking for you to solve for them?
Yeah, what's interesting is, so a lot of people, PhocusWire's got some really good research. So 3% of total tours and activities are made by OTAs, global booking volumes. It's only 3%. If you compare that to hotels, OTAs own 80 to 90%, sometimes 100% in different markets of the booking volumes. Most of the bookings in tours and activities are made offline, and what I mean by offline is in-destination concierge desks or on the suppliers' websites, or the fact is that a lot of the bookings are still being made by the travel trade, the traditional bricks and mortar travel agents that we know. A lot of the activity for us at the moment is doing a lot of bespoke work. We're getting approached by travel agency chains, major global travel agency chains scrambling at the moment to bring themselves up to speed to have tour and activity offerings into their existing platforms.
Right, okay.
They don't have the time or the expertise, so one of the biggest moving parts of our business is us being an integration and technical partner for these large travel agency chains wanting to offer these tools and activities and giving the rails to do so. Okay,
so we talked about the problems that they need solving now. I mean, what do you sense is the next problem that needs some kind of solution from the likes of yourselves to kind of develop?
It's a great question. It would be great for all the competitive reservation platforms that are out there to get together and create some sort of industry standard of data. That's pushing a lot of companies to do a lot of workarounds. A lot of integrations are not done very well, and they're creating more work for suppliers along the way. And a perfect example of that is TripAdvisor or Viator doesn't use pricing, dynamic pricing. Well, they're just starting to now. And they don't post a pickup location with a booking. So then the supplier gets the booking and they have to actually get on the phone, call the customer, and then they've got this whole other process that they have to deal with an automated booking. So if we can start unifying all the data structures coming out of the reservation systems in some sort of defined manner, and everyone can get together and work towards that, I think that would be a huge, huge plus for the whole industry.
It's interesting because standards have been something that the hotel industry and the airline industry have worked collaboratively to try and get towards for many, many years, decades almost. I mean, whose role do you think it is in tours and activities to oversee that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Look, I would expect it depends on who's getting the most pain with this. Certainly, I think it'll probably be driven by a major online aggregator of these APIs that probably has exposure to it. that's got the right clout. But joining very competitive reservation systems to share ideas, it doesn't seem that environment is there yet.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of stealing of customers and acquisitions happening. So I think the reservation system's learning to work together for the greater good. I think that's where it should definitely come from, but I just don't know how realistic that is at the moment.
Okay, so maybe that is one of the things you were thinking of about to say, but let's pretend that we're here again, Arrival 2020, so 2 years' time.
Yep.
Look into your crystal ball and tell us what do you think will be the discussion in the corridors of a big conference like this.
That's a really good question. So recently we've seen a couple of new entrants into the space. OTAs are dominating online and real-time bookings in tools and activities. And we've seen Google come in with Google Reserve or Google Bird. And they're doing a meta search play into the tool space, which is really tough, but I think they've managed to do a good job. What I think we'll be talking about is the own source supply of the big OTAs today. I believe in 2 years we'll be talking about those, how those own source supply, what I'm talking about is reservation systems, will be the major competitors to the OTAs because they'll be circumnavigating and going straight to the source of where the customers are.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of conflict that we're going to see there. Reservation systems will connect directly to the closest booking source of the customer where they can. They'll always do it. They've always done it, and they won't mind circumnavigating one of their largest hands that feeds them to do it. So I think we'll be talking a lot about that, which no one really expects. But that's my crystal ball.
Okay, so it could be an interesting 2 years ahead of us. So Steve Martinez from LIVN, thank you very much. Thank you.